History itself, I believe, can be argued, especially since the period in World War II, has become a commodity owned not by us, but by the national security state, essentially stolen by us from that national security state. To give you one example, the history of World War II that's classified, as well as the history of the Cold War, is stored in a national military archive, part of the archives in Washington, D.C. This particular one is based in Suitland, Maryland. It's stored in underground vaults. Do you remember that last scene in Raiders of the Ark with Indiana Jones and the guy pushing the one carton amidst thousands of cartons in this long hall? That's what we're talking about. Underground vaults, an acre in size, presumably loaded to the fill. Otherwise, go on to the next one. 27 such vaults in this collection. 27 acres of at least 2 stories of classified documents just for the period from 1945. When I was in school, I don't know about you, history ended, if I was lucky prior to college, it ended at the Civil War. If I got into college and got beyond that, it ended somewhere around the beginning of World War II. There was no such thing as history that was taught in the period from 1945 to the 1960s when I was going to school. That was a period, in mystery, we were told if we asked about it, that it was too close for historians to evaluate. But that was the most critical period in terms of how we got here, and now we have generations of students in most high schools across the country who are not even required to take history courses because they don't want them to understand their history. If you read the book 1984, one of the delusions that Winston Smith, the protagonist, is forced to suffer under is that he doesn't even know what year it is. And I would suggest we don't know what year it is either, because George Orwell, whose real name is Eric Blair, who was an agent of the Indian Imperial Police and part of Burma, the first counterinsurgency war, and learned the tricks of the trade from the British, who held an effective empire control with intelligence methodology for 500 years and then taught it to us because we didn't know how to do it. This guy came out of their ranks and told a story in that book in 1939 when he wrote it that he titled in the first English editions 1948. It was only when it hit U.S. shores through Harcourt Brace, which also had ties to the intelligence agency by that point, that the title was changed for American consumption into 1984, that the past at that point was made into the future. So the book, and one of the revelations in the book, horrifying to Winston, is that the Book of Revolution, which is a very interesting, read the book within the book in 1984 because it will tell you much of what I'm talking about here. But that Book of Revolution, supposedly written by the state enemy Goldstein, who I think you can read Rosenberg, that book, in the end, it turns out, has been written by O'Brien, the head of the Ministry of Truth, who's torturing Winston and just given to him in order to see how he would react to it. So I think that much of even the alternate history is disinformation, but history itself is taken from us, and peoples that don't have their own history are conquered peoples.